All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm so excited. We are here with Jen Evangelista from Grace in Color. And we are going to be talking a little bit with her today about journaling. If you're not really familiar with her, I first met Jen in Alicia Nicole's Facebook group. And that was way back before she had even launched her
Yeah,
brand.
that was.
Started
Mm.
gathering some pieces, and now she has just, like Jamie Foxx would say, blow up-tuated. She's like all over the place, doing awesome, rocking it out. So we're really excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. And it's interesting because you're one of my very first email responders.
Oh,
When you're first getting started, and even now, I mean, it's not just the first getting started thing because I've only been in this gig about a year. But honestly, I mean, I just get so excited when somebody like emails me and responds to me, and it just gives me all the warm fuzzies. And so you were one of the first ones to do that, and I was like, oh, I love this girl. I'm gonna get to know this girl. So yes, so I do appreciate that. It means a lot. It means a
mhm.
lot just to kind of reach out to people that you come across and encourage them, and especially when they're starting out. So
Right.
it's been a lot.
Oh, well, I'm glad. For our audience who they may not be really familiar with you, so let's start off with just getting a little bit of information about who is Jen. Who are you, Jen? Where are you from, and what do you do?
Sure. Okay. Well, I wear a lot of hats, and so I'll try to condense it. I am originally from Georgia. I currently live in Georgia, actually. I did live in Florida for a while. We had this discussion. I'm a Florida Gator. So for those of you, I'm sorry, but yay. Okay. I'm back in Georgia now. So I live in Columbus, Georgia. I am married to Brad, who is the pastor of a local church here in Columbus called Cross Point Church. And we've been married for almost 24 years. This December will be 24 years. And we
Oh,
have four gorgeous, talented children. They're just phenomenal. I've got them locked out of the bedroom right now, but anyway. No, we have four kids who are range in age from 19, and our 19-year-old actually is overseas right now for a year in Beijing, China, teaching English. And then we have a 16-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 9-year-old. They're all boys except for the 12-year-old. So we snuck a girl in
wow.
there.
Wow.
And so other than that, I also by training originally, am a pediatrician. So I went to a medical school and I did my medical training in Florida at University of Florida. So that's kind of where that all came in. And so I am working as a pediatrician. I work part-time now as a pediatrician because as our church grew and our kids grew, just the demands on our lives grew. And so I cut back on that a little bit, but I love taking care of kids. And then this ministry site that I currently have called Grace in Color really it's been a seed for years actually. And it just hasn't been the right time. And in October of last year of 2016, I launched and it has been just a whirlwind of fun and excitement and have loved every minute of it. And that site is all about my passion really is teaching women to use their creativity, whether it is, through writing or art journaling or Bible journaling or mixed media or whatever it is, using their creativity to really grow in their faith and to grow in the truth of the gospel. And I'm having a great time doing it. So that's kind of who I am.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I learned something I never knew about the pediatrician background. So
Really? Okay.
I learned
Yeah.
something today.
Yep. Just yet another one of my hats. Yep. It's all
Mhm.
right.
And I have heard of Crosspoint before. My husband and I lived in the Atlanta outskirts
Yes.
for about 5 years, and we have definitely heard of Crosspoint. So that's pretty cool.
What a small world. What a small world. Yes. Crosspoint has been, we've been pastoring there. He has been pastoring there. I support where I can, but he's definitely the pastor for about 12 years now. And so that's when it started.
Okay.
So So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I really, really, really love, just rubbing shoulders with other sisters and brothers and just the people of God. And it's a beautiful thing. We have a great time doing it.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, tell us, how long have you been a writer? I know you launched your brand last October, but like you said, you've had some seedlings along the way. So when did your love of writing start?
Okay. That's a good question, because really for as long as I can remember, I have been a lover of the written word. And whether it was reading or writing, I was one of those kids who read just all the time. And it's interesting because out of my 4 kids, I have 2 that did that and 2 that do not. I mean, it's like, dude, your book report is due like in 2 days. You got to read your book. And then I've got 2 kids who are just, can you order another book from Amazon? Oh, sure. But I was always that way. I loved to read. I loved to write. When I was younger, I went on some of my favorite classes. It's interesting that I went into science. Some of my favorite classes were literature and English. And although I am not trained in that officially, I do have a minor in English Lit in college. My major was in biology and pre-med, and chemistry, minor in chemistry and a minor in English Lit. So I'm kind of weird. But love to write. So I've always enjoyed it. The problem really is the time. And so sometimes it's difficult for me to find pockets of time. And that's one of the things that I'm working on. And that's one of the reasons I love journaling so much, because journaling just flows out of you so much easier sometimes than some of the more formal writing that we all, that I do love to do as well. So I've loved to write, love to be a writer, love to write I don't know. For a very long time.
That's awesome. Most of the people that I've interviewed so far, last year and this year, we all have had that period in our childhood where the writing, somehow something sparked it and we just kept it going our adulthood. So that's really awesome to hear that you're the same way.
Yep.
Now, you mentioned not having a lot of pocket time for formal writing, but you love journaling. So tell us a little bit about when you started journaling.
Well, again, really my whole life, I was the diary kid too. So in addition to wanting to write, I loved to write fiction when I was young. And it's interesting because my daughter does the same thing. She likes to write plays for all of her little friends to act out. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. But so I love to do that. But I was always also I kept a diary. I kept I'm a very visual person. And if you are at all familiar or at all go over to my website now, you will kind of see that I do lean towards the visual journaling a lot. And when I was a kid, I did the same thing. So I was always the one that I journaled. I had my diary, but I was always smashing things in it. Now they call it smash books. I don't know what we called it then. We didn't call it scrapbooking because scrapbooking was not cool then, although it's totally cool now. So it was, I had the magnetic journals, the ones, the magnetic scrapbooks, I guess, the photo albums. They were just photo albums. And I would put all of my journaling in there, and then I would throw in ticket stubs and photos, because I'm really dating myself, but we had the cameras where you had to take it to the drugstore and get the 24 prints, Yes. I'd get them back and I would just hoard them and I would put them in my little page with the journaling all about the photo. So I have all of those memories now, even from when I was very, very young. And I'm really blessed to have had parents who encouraged me in that and allowed me to kind of go down those paths. And they let me have the little cameras and do all that. And so even in my childhood, I did that. And then it kind of transitioned into, I did go through a scrapbooking phase when that got to be big, and then a digital scrapbooking phase. And I still love to do digital scrapbooking. I really do. But it's more of at this point, a mixed media. Transition into mixed media, but I always include the journaling. I should say always. I almost always include the written journaling as well as the art journaling that goes with it. There is a place for just writing. There is a place for just art. And then when those two can come together, I just find that beautiful when you can do this art journaling, visual journaling. And so that's where my passion kind of lies right now, is in that expression.
Okay. Nice. I love that you've been able to fuse two passions together in such a really neat way. So that's really cool. And that your daughter seems to be following in your footsteps.
I know. And interestingly, I don't have a lot of natural artistic talent. And this is what I always try to teach people, because people say, I'm not an artist, I'm not creative, right? Or I'm not a writer. I can't, I'm not good at grammar. I'm not good at, whatever. There's all kinds of excuses that we all have. And I am not naturally I'm not a Picasso person. Of course, his art was kind of weird anyway, but you know what I mean? And so, but it doesn't stop me from creating. And that's the beautiful thing about writing and about creating and doing any expression of creativity that you have. You can do it whether, it's something that you're quote unquote good at or not, because it's for your own good. And I know we'll get into that a little bit later, but anyway, so yes. So I think that for her, I see that in her as well. She's very, very gifted intellectually, not super, super gifted artistically like her mom, but we do it together, and it's great, and it's a great form of worship for us. So
that's beautiful. Awesome. So you talked about having that passion for the written journaling. Do you ever use writing prompts of any kind, or do you just free write?
I do both. A lot of my written journaling comes out of course, what I'm going through at the time, what I'm feeling, experiences that I'm living through, and those just usually just kind of flow. A lot of my journaling comes from things that I'm learning. I really, really try to journal things that I'm learning. In particular, when I'm doing things, Bible studies and learning from the scripture, I really try to take all that I'm trying to learn and piece together and put it down on paper, because I find that it helps me to get it all together a little bit easier. And so that is just kind of just spitting it out, right? I also really enjoy when I go through periods where maybe I'm just not in a place where I can do that. Maybe I'm going through kind of a time that's a little bit low. Maybe I'm going through a time where I'm not feeling like I'm learning or I'm getting anything positive from life. Then a lot of times I will go to prompts. And I do have a kind of, it's a gratitude. It's a book that had prompts on gratitude. And it's one of my go-tos because it gives you prompts on just reflection on the things, your blessings in life. And I love that one in particular. That's one of the big prompts that I like to use. It's like, name someone think of someone who has gone out of their way to bless you in the past week. And, it gets you thinking about, okay, I may be in a bit of a funk right now, but my blessings are so bountiful. And then when I start to think of that and write those things, then other things flow from that. So I love prompts in that respect. When you are kind of stuck a little bit, or just when you want to expand your writing horizons a little bit, just figure out something new to write about. So yes, so that's how I use prompts.
That's awesome. I usually in the past would free write, and that's all I ever really did. And I was a diary girl like you too. And I started the actual prompts a couple years ago, and I found some pretty good ones. I do like the gratitude ones. And I was telling you earlier about Gigi Renee, and in her writing workshop she did a lot of introspective prompts, and it really got me thinking, because I love the psychology stuff. That's what my master's is in, school counseling. So I love all that psychology stuff. So I think it's really neat how you can start a prompt, and then by the time you're done with it, you've learned so much you didn't even know you had inside of you, or thoughts that you were internalizing, and now they're like, ta-da!
Right. Right. Yes. And speaking of prompts, you have, just as a plug, okay, you guys go to her website. I know you're on her website now, right? Or you wouldn't know what's going on. But if you happen to be seeing this on social media, go to the website, because you have a free prompt opt-in.
Yes.
And I took a look at those, and those prompts are so good.
Aw.
And they really are. And I think it's really good for those that may not really think they're writers, or may kind of not know which direction to go in their writing. Just pick up one of those prompts and just start. Just do it. And you never know what you're going to end up with. So I think that's a beautiful thing.
Very true. Very true. That's what I love about creativity. You and I could both respond to the same writing prompt, and your response could be totally different than what mine is. And it's art. It is okay. It is fine. It's fabulous. So
yes,
I think that's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know you had different journaling challenges. Have you ever created your own written prompts, though, and done a challenge like that? I'm not sure I've seen you do one like that. I know I've seen the art ones, but I'm not sure if I've seen the written ones. Have you done that before?
Well, as part of my, there was a challenge that I did. I was trying to think. I think it was Create Truth Art was the name of the challenge, and it was what the Creative Bible said. I think it was Create Truth Art. I think it's the one it was. I'm sorry, guys. They're all on the website. But what we did was we went through, in that challenge we went through 2 books. We went through the book of Philippians and the book of Jonah. And we did have artistic challenges each week with it. And it is a completely free challenge, by the way, if you guys did want to check it out. But there's also, in the middle of it, it's almost like Bible study prompts. And those are journaling prompts, in essence. They are basically a way to look at the passages and the way to look at the scripture, maybe in a little different way than what you've looked at them in the past. And then it kind of branches off from, for example, if we're studying Jonah, it branches off to other books and other studies. And so although it's not truly writing prompts, it is a way to write, to start writing. And so it is a journaling prompt in that respect. And I do encourage people. As a matter of fact, there's another challenge called the Creative Bible Study Challenge. And all these long challenge names, I got to fix that. But regardless, one of the big prompts in that one is journaling. Okay. And so it's actually sitting down and journaling, and it gives different techniques to start journaling. And of course, one of them is to find questions to answer, Bible study questions to answer, and to just write, and to just journal, and to just let your thoughts about a particular, in this instance, it's about a passage of scripture. This really can be about anything, though, anything that you're experiencing, and just let that start to flow. So yes and no. I do not have specific only journaling challenge, although that's a great idea. I may have to do that, because that is a big part of creativity, right? It's journaling. And it's also sometimes a little less intimidating than when you throw in the visual parts. So I think that, although I don't have that specifically, maybe I'll have that specifically soon. But it's definitely incorporated in my other challenges, because it's such an important part of really my expression, my creative expression, is the journaling part of it. And it's funny, because my journaling, you should see my sermon notes. I wish I had it right here with me. I've said this before. I said this to somebody on a podcast that I was on. I sit on the front row of church, because my husband's a preacher, and he leaves. And so I've got a seat empty, and I line up my colored pens, right? I don't know. Are you a colored pen journaler? I don't know.
I love different colors, but I usually will stick with purple. That's my go-to color.
Okay.
That's my favorite color. But if I can't find a purple pen around, then I'll usually grab a black one.
Yes. Well, I have all mine lined up, and I have, I start with the black and I do the title in the black, and I've got the subpoints in blue, and then I've got their scripture references I'll put in pink and quotes I'll put in purple. I mean, it's crazy. It's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But what it does for me, and this is something that if anybody is interested in trying something a little bit different, it may be something to think about. What it does for me is, number one, it keeps me focused on what's happening, right? Because I'm listening. I'm not distracted by the journaling because for me, it's part of how I listen.
Right.
Not everybody is like that. I understand. But also when I go back and review, I can really hone in on, okay, these are the main points. This is the scripture references that I wanted to go back to because I put them in this color. You know what I mean? It just really, really helps break it up visually. And for someone like me who's a little bit distractible, if I look at if I have a full page of my own black handwriting, I'm going to probably, kind of be a little bit distracted. If it's broken up by different colors, then I tend to go back and review it more, and I get more and more out of it. So I don't know. I have no idea if that's anything had to do with the question you asked, but
that's fine.
Little freebie there, little freebie. Give it a try. Seriously, it's very helpful. I do that with my other journaling too. Just as I'm journaling, like if my thought changes, I oftentimes will change colors.
That's a nice tip. I would probably change mine quite often because usually if I'm journaling in the morning, I'm free writing and, I'm locking myself in the restroom. And if my children have gotten up earlier than they're supposed to, my thoughts may change. And I'm about one concept and someone's like trying to bang the bathroom door down. So my thoughts will change again. And
yes, stream of consciousness is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
But I do think that I can see definitely how the color coding could work because in math, that's pretty much how I passed stats when I was in college. I had to color code everything.
And you don't have to make it stressful. It does not have to be, you're like, oh, what color am I supposed to do this in? It's just a free flow thing because mine are not the same every week. It's not a stressful thing at all because if it's stressful, then it's not worth it.
Right. So you've got a really neat way of how you journal. And what I think is really cool is that even though, I don't know, I'm getting this sense that you might feel like Bible journaling in terms of Bible study might be different than like your other kind of journaling. But for me, I think it's all writing. So it's all you're a writer, and I think that's really cool because something I've learned anyways is that I used to be really hung up and tell myself I had to be a certain kind of writer. Otherwise, I can't call myself a writer. And I think it's really important for everyone to realize you can focus on whatever topic, whether it is, your Bible study, that's your way of learning, and journaling can help with that. Or whether you're struggling with, self-esteem and journaling about that particular topic on a regular is helping you work through your issues there, or just whatever the case may be. I think it's really neat to be able to hone in on those different subjects and to be able to use writing to sort of help you get through and understand and break through issues and barriers that may be going on. So that's
yes. And memory keeping. I think that it's important that we remember that sometimes writing for the purpose of memory keeping is a beautiful thing as well. Not just the little things that I think are so important for us to remember. Like, for example, what our kids are doing at a particular stage in life, journaling about that. When you're talking about, you get interrupted in the bathroom, journaling about that, that's a beautiful thing because you're going to look back on that in 10, 15, 20 years, and you're going to have all of those same emotions. And they may be different because they may be frustration now and they're going to be yearning then. I mean, I'm just saying, but you're going to have that prompt. And so, and also and for me, even like when you're going through really hard times, I think that as a way to document what you're going through, journaling is such a beautiful thing because you can just pour your heart out on a journal in a journal, and then for me it serves as like an Ebenezer stone, a stone of remembrance,
Mm-hmm.
because I can look back on that. I look back on some of the things I read. I used to write poetry.
Mm-hmm.
And I still do sometimes, but a lot of my poetry was dark.
Mm-hmm.
It was just dark because it flowed out of pain,
Mm-hmm.
in painful periods. And I look back on those, and sometimes I find those, and I'm like, okay, God, you were with me in that,
Mm-hmm.
even though I was not feeling it at the time. And I can remember how I felt, but more importantly, I can remember how I was taken out of that and how I
Mm-hmm.
came through it and I was brought through it. And I'm in a different place now than I was then.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you're right. It's not a pigeonhole.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, oh, I can only write, poetry. I can only write Bible journaling. I can only write, it's really, there's so many different ways in which you can write.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So obviously journaling has impacted your life.
A little bit.
Can you think of a specific time when journaling just really, really helped you get through something that you were going through?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can think of several. And I think, again, a lot of it does come, for me, it was, as I mentioned, the times when I felt like that I was not being heard, my prayers were not being heard, I was too low even to feel like I could pray.
Mm-hmm.
Or I was at a point where I felt like that there was so much pressing in on me that I was overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
Those times are, to me, some of the most beautiful times for me to express myself in journaling. And some people do that through song.
Mm-hmm.
Some people do, through music. Some people do that through painting.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was writing. And I will say this about those times. I do have a lot of that writing and a lot of that journaling, but I also have journaling, and this is just another little tidbit and tip for you. I also have journaling that I literally do not necessarily want to go back and look at,
Right.
because it might have been almost like an indictment on someone else. For example, let's just say that I'm really pouring my heart about a particular relationship. And that could potentially be painful if that was ever read by someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I can still pour that out in journaling. And then you know what I can do? And this is what I do sometimes. I can literally paint over it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I feel like, okay, I've kind of let that out, I have expressed myself in this way, and I feel like that I'm getting more clarity on it.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is what I need to do. I need to go to that person. I need to resolve this issue, whatever that case may be. And I can just, with great freedom, just paint right over it. I could tear it out, rip it up, burn it, whatever you want to do, however you want to get rid of it. For me, it's painting over it. And then when I go back and look in my journal and I see that area, and I'll put something there, maybe I'll put a butterfly on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I will represent that period of my life. And I may not have the words, because those words could potentially hurt someone else,
Mm-hmm.
because you never want to journal about someone that you're going to regret if they ever were to read it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's one of the things that I have been known to do is I will just pour my heart out on a piece of paper, and then I will cover it with something else, something beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes almost like a representation of covering the pain with beauty
Mm-hmm.
and grace. And I can have grace for myself because I've been given grace
Mm-hmm.
by Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see that with clarity, then it becomes a memory that becomes more sweet than
Mm-hmm.
sour.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I love that. I have definitely written lots of letters, I should say, to release whatever was going on at the time. And at that time, I'd usually just throw it away. But I love
Mm-hmm.
that idea of painting over it and turning it into, from a sorrowful moment to something beautiful, showing that you have gone through, you've you've begun the healing process of it, and you're focusing on the more positive aspects from that event. So I love that. And that's probably something that I think I'd like to try, instead of just throwing that memory away, to just represent that I'm going to move forward in grace.
Yeah.
So I like that. That's a good tip, which was actually what I was about to ask you next was, what was a good journaling tip you had for us?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got ahead.
That's fine.
No, I would say, here's what I would say about journaling. And again, I'm talking to people who maybe they journal all the time, but a lot of people listening to this you may not journal. Maybe you are because I know that you speak to a lot of writers, and maybe you're a writer that doesn't really see the value in journaling, or maybe you are not a writer at all, and you just came on because, we're so pretty. I don't know. We do look pretty good tonight. I'm just saying. But here's what I would say. Just do it. And this is what I say about my art journaling to people that say they're not creative. Just do it, because it is a grace and it is a blessing to be able to do this. And the same with journaling, with writing journaling. My tip is to just find, and for me, it's to find something pretty to write in, because I'm all about the visual. Now, I will tell you this. I love legal pads. Okay, this is a little known fact because I'm all about the pretty journals, right? But I love writing in legal pads for some bizarre reason. So the yellow old, the long, yellow old legal pads. I don't know why. But for the most part, I write in pretty journals, and I create my own journals. And I do have, a lot of tutorials on doing that, because I just find that when I have something pretty to write in and I start, then it starts to flow. And so my advice is to just get started. Go to the dollar store, go to TJ Maxx, go to Office Specs, go wherever you can get a pretty composition book. You can get an ugly composition book and recover it. And find something, just a blank paper that you will not feel bad about starting to write in. Don't start with a $20 Moleskine. Those scare me. Honestly, they do. But find a cheap notebook and just start writing. And just start. And you will be surprised at how much you get out of it. And it doesn't have to be an all-day experience for you, because none of us have all day to do anything, honestly, right? We all have lives. Most of us are, we have jobs, we have families, we just are busy. But taking time, and another tip that I advise, and this is what I also advise for people to do with anything you want to do regularly. I tell this to my people as far as Bible study goes as well. Put it in your schedule for the day. And schedule the time and say, I'm going to take 30 minutes to journal. And it may be a different time and different days, but look at your week and say, it may not be every day, but maybe 3 days a week, I can take 30 minutes where I can lock myself in the bathroom if I have to, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to take this time and I'm going to journal, whether it's using a prompt from your website, which is awesome, whether it is something that I'm learning, whether it's just my emotions for the day, whether it's just my kids' quotes from yesterday, whatever it is, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write it. So my tip is just to do it. Just do it. Find a pretty journal and start. And it doesn't have to be a pretty journal, but for me, I like pretty journals. And start writing. Just start writing.
Love it. Love it. And I'm sorry, you might hear my 3-year-old trying to in my room.
Yay, I'm so glad I'm not the only one. My door is locked. I'm just saying.
I locked it, but I can hear her like.
I love that. I do love that. I love that. It's a stage in life, right?
It is. It
right?
is.
My youngest is 9. He can survive, right?
But I do love that tip to just start where we are. And I think sometimes we get hung up on we've got to do it a certain way, or we've got to follow certain rules, and that's not the case. You know, it's just like the Bible tells us, come as we are.
That's right.
just do it. Just start where you are. Write whatever you want to write, and just see what happens. See what comes from out of it. So,
isn't it great that you can just start wherever you are?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be publishable.
Right.
It doesn't have to be worthy of anybody else even reading it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I say about the art. It doesn't have to be Instagram worthy.
Mm-hmm.
Just you will be blessed by doing it, and you will learn. And so, yes, and if it's something that you enjoy, do it. If it's something that you don't know if you enjoy, do it. If it's something you don't enjoy, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hear that, sweet baby.
Yes. And I had just said that I was not going to be editing because that is not forte.
Don't edit it. We all understand. No editing necessary. Guys, this is life.
It is. This is real life.
It's good. It's
but
good.
We're going to be wrapping up in just a second anyway. So as we wrap up, if you could. Okay, she's screaming a little loud. So give me 1 second.
Go take care of it. Go take care of it.
Here we go. Okay, so we're back, and we're going to be talking about how we can get in touch with Miss Jen so that we can learn more about merging our written journaling with our art journaling and just how all that works, and let us know how we can learn more about where to find you.
Sure. Well, as you know, I love to hear from people. So contact me, please. Let me know who you are, because I love to get to know people. Basically, my website is graceincolor.com. And you can really, that's the hub. You can find anything from there. I have a Facebook Live show every 2 weeks. I hear her. I will hurry. I have a Facebook Live show every 2 weeks on my Facebook page where we explore different ways to be creative and grow in faith. And I'm currently on Instagram right now doing a morning psalm. So every morning I'm on Instagram Live going through a psalm together with anybody who wants to join me. And so that's been a real blessing. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, all the places, but you can find them all at graceincolor.com. And like I said, message me on Instagram or Facebook or email me, because I just really love to know people's story and who they are and what you're up to. And it inspires me and I love it. And so I'm around. So come and find me. There are several things on the website. It's several resources you can check out. There's and everything. There's a classroom and everything in there at this point is, there's some free challenges and things like that. So come and check it out if you're interested.
We're being impromptu today, guys.
Yes, let's find. Where is that sweet baby?
I'm gonna show her in just a second. Okay, come sit by mom.
Hello.
Sit right here. Here. Normally she's all about getting on camera. Now she's being really shy about coming on camera.
Hey, I want to see you. Hello, darling. Oh, that tear down the face. You're breaking my heart, girl.
This is my baby, my Maddie Pooh.
Well, she is a love, and she's much better being able to sit with Mama.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we all understand that. But that's how you can find me. So come and find me. And I'm so honored to have been able to talk with you tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
It has just been it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it too. Because what I really like is that you, like I said, you merge the written and the art. And I just think that's not something you see a lot of. At least I haven't seen a whole lot of it until I met you. So I think that's really neat. And I'm sure all of our visitors that are watching are going to be so excited when they take part in all your free challenges that you've got on your site, and just following you along. Because, guys, Jen's always doing some awesome video stuff. Catch her on IG stories. She's always got some really great stuff going on. And what I love about Jen is that she is authentic, and you all that have been following me, you know that's one of my core values is
Mm-hmm.
authenticity. And I have always loved that about Jen. She's been consistent. So that's great. You don't always see that. So especially in the online space, we sometimes feel like we have to be someone we're not. So I love that from you. I love your genuine spirit. I love that you've got this great ministry going. You're going after what you've been wanting to do. So keep doing what you're doing. And
Thank you.
we'll definitely be chatting some more soon.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you're gonna hear it here. Spoiler, people. I'm getting her on my Facebook Live show, so there you go. She's coming. She hasn't committed to it yet, but she's coming.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, it's been great having you on, Jen, and we look forward to chatting with you again in the future.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day.
You too.